Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the founder of Asian Literary Society, Mr. Manoj Krishnan, and his entire team for providing a platform to the children and young adults with special abilities to showcase their talents through an initiative, Parvaz 2021. And it has a very apt tagline, I am determined to fly. Yes, there's absolutely nothing they can't do. And the time and again they have proven their mettle. Their firm determination is their strength. And as parents of specially able children, we understand this very well. But does the society we live in think likewise? Do they provide the kind of support that these children need to integrate these people in the regular curriculum? Our topic of discussion today relates to this profound thought. On our panel today, we have three esteemed guests who have worked very closely with specially abled people and contributed towards closing in the gap between them and the society. A warm welcome to each of them.
Thank you.
And before I give a personal introduction, I would just like to say a few lines which I have written about our children. Unafraid and dauntless. Every step I take, I'm bound to win. I'm unstoppable. A lot of courage I muster within. With this, I would like to introduce our panelists today. First of all, we have Ms. Fionika Sanghvi. Welcome, Fionika.
Namaste. Thank you so much for this, Cinta. Really happy to be on this panel.
So I'll just say a few words about you. The more I say, the less it is, but I'll still like to give an introduction about you, Fionika. Ms. Fionika Sanghvi is a special educator and works at SPJ Sadhana School in Mumbai. The school is a pioneer in vocational training for the special needs and aims to integrate their students into the mainstream to be contributing members of the society. Ms. Fionika has given selfless service to this school for the last 26 years. She started as a special educator in the formative years section and then grew with experience and exposure. And I'm proud to say she now heads the institution. From a guide and mentor to the teachers to being the principal, this is all a result of her hard work, passion, dedication, and commitment. No words can justify her achievements. And to say off the point, I have been privy to her full-hearted involvement in every student's progress, as she was Anushka, my daughter's first educator. I owe the strong foundation that Anushka built in the initial years to Fionika and SPJ Sadhana. Welcome, Fionika. Would you like to say something about our initiative?
So much, Nisha, for this lovely that you have given for me. It was a privilege for me to be selected by the Asian Literacy Society to speak about inclusion. This is something SPJ Sadhana has been on for several years. We are located in Mumbai, in India, and we are in the stream of special education since 45 years. Working with the differently abled and growing with them, we have learned how to help them become contributing and productive members of society. You have already spoken a brief about what Sadhana does, and you have also experienced it with Anushka. But it will be nice that lots of other people know about her and about many of them who are doing this kind for a lot of differently able. This is a wonderful platform. It's a beginning for Parvaz, and I wish the very best that this social initiative goes much further. Thank you so much.
If we have people like you supporting us, I'm sure we'll go miles. Then now our second panelist, Ms. Rahima Amir Ali, born and raised in the UK, has been a SEN and early years teacher for nearly 15 years, 8 years of which she has spent in the UAE. Her love for working with students with special needs and the performing arts motivated her to start her initiative, Rising Stars Dubai. This is a fully inclusive talent academy that focuses on children's talents and, mind you, not their labels. It is a global community that supports stars, to achieve their ambitions, putting inclusion and talents in the spotlight. Through identifying and developing the stars' talents, she hopes to get the stars to shine brighter and make their dreams come true. Welcome home, Rahima.
Thank you, Nisha, and lovely to be talking alongside amazing speakers like Meena and Veronica. So I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, God, you said 15 years. I can't believe it's gone so quickly, and 8 years already here in Dubai. So I feel really privileged as well to be here and be part of this very important discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our third panelist is Miss Nina Rena from Dubai. Having worked for advertising agencies and a world-class film production house, Miss Nina has over 19 years of experience as a media professional across India, Indonesia, and Malaysia. She devoted her life to the cause of differently abled children after seeing the impact of her support on her eldest son, who is differently abled. She has pushed his capabilities, which resulted in him being well-rounded with a flair for singing and acting. And we have seen him so closely, Nina. Her aim with Tender Hearts Arena is to uphold her belief that with encouragement, those with special needs can surely perform extraordinary things and exceed expectations. Through this venture, Nina looks to strengthen each child's potential to the maximum. Welcome here, Nina, and we would love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you, Asian Literacy Society. I think I was listening to the other panel discussion also. It was so enriching. It was so nice. Like you really wanted to continue listening to that. So I guess it's learning all through and all across. But thank you for having me participate here. Actually, Tender Hearts is something which has been there past 6 years now. I think almost 11 months has gone in COVID. So, but we still utilized it in a very good way. Like we did online throughout, though we didn't start physically. And these kids gave us surprise, and they showed us that they can do amazing with online also, which we basically, they tell us that don't underestimate us. We can do everything. So what kids have shown us, what they have shown us is something which we do in Tender Hearts, is provide different activities, which is like martial arts and recreation and all, where we feel that the topic that you have today, which is inclusion, and inclusion through recreation, is amazing. Because when we talk about education, which this country has actually bought in, but it's more easier in recreation than education, because education gives you different it's different abilities. Not everybody can be very good in academics, so their inclusion becomes difficult. It becomes integration. So I guess Tender Hearts has shown us within these 5 years we have kids who have actually stood up and are talented, because we find out the talent of these kids and then try to give them direction in that areas, which can be music, which can be sports, which can be dance, which can be theater, which can be any line. So the basic objective is that if they are talented and they get that line which they are good in, it will be very easy for them to actually achieve their goals. When we talk about jobs, when we talk about them going and being independent, so these things which we are seeing, and I guess 5 years is a very short time, but yes, they have given us every day, they surprise us. And when we talk about me as a mother, Varun is my son, so I guess he has taught me and he's teaching me still. So it's a learning every day. So learning, I think today, but it's an ongoing thing which I don't want to take time. And let's start. Thank you.
Thank you for those wonderful thoughts, Nina. It has been a very challenging time for all of us, frankly. And the discussion, today's discussion will just, give us a clearer picture. But things, everything has to start with us. We have to change our mindset first, and then the society has to accept. That is what I believe in. So my first question will be to the three of you. It's a common question, and then we'll come to individual questions because we want to focus on exactly what you are doing also. So the first question would be, as per our topic of discussion today, what are your views on inclusion? Do you think it's a myth or a reality? That was the tagline for our topic today. So do you believe that the concept of inclusion actually exists in a society? Fionika, we can start with you.
Yes, Nisha, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So as per our tagline, whether inclusion is a myth or reality, for me, inclusion is a reality. Yes, it is a possibility. And what we people who deal with differently able need a platform for the world to know, for the world to see, for the world to recognize and even experience the ability of these differently abled people. So, at SPJ Sadhana, we host an annual exhibition. And this is a platform that we have created where our students can display their skills. Yes. And we invite prospective employers who would come and, view for themselves how these children are trained by us, what are their abilities, how they can be included into mainstream. So inclusion through skill development is something that we at SPJ Sadhana advocate a lot. And for us to have this kind of a platform for our students is mainly because, it's very true that seeing is believing. So when people come and see that a platform has been created to actually let the world know that these are people, even though they are differently abled, they are capable of inclusion. So I definitely think that inclusion is a reality.
I think very well said. And we have seen it, 5 years that we were at SPJ Sadhana, we have seen it year after year. And the success of, I think, SPJ Sadhana also, hats off to all the team members there, Fionika. The same question for you, Nina. What do you believe in?
I totally believe, and I go with Fionika, and I guess you also, is inclusion is a reality, and we have to make it a reality. Because it's yes, when we say some of the things which were myth earlier, which we will say that people used to think that it is the school who has to start with inclusion or with actually integration, and inclusion is for everything. Inclusion is not only for certain things. Inclusion is not only for special needs. Inclusion is for all or everyone, actually, whether nowadays you have all sex, you have different sex, you have different in terms of when you say a man or a woman, when you say inclusion for ability, accessibility, inclusion for everything, actually. Whether it is corporates, whether it is a mall, whether it is a supermarket, whether you are going anywhere, inclusion has to be there everywhere. So I think yes, we are supposed to be involved in that, in thinking that to make it reality, yes, we all have to work together. Because there are lots of things people think and mistake it with integrative. They think integration is inclusion, because when you go to a school, if it is not a special needs school, it becomes integration, because there's different challenges with the kids, and the teachers in this class do not have that kind of staff that they can actually cater to everyone. There it becomes integration, it does not become inclusion, even though the child is there in the class, because you have a shadow teacher, you have it's something which we look at. But finally, when we include them everywhere according to the abilities that they have, we see amazing changes. It's not only for our kids or for an adult or for a special need, it is on the other side also of the society, because they learn, they are ready to actually understand. They have to understand what is inclusion, because they don't have any idea. So I guess people like us and everyone has to include and has to think where all inclusion can be done. So inclusion is reality. It's something that we have to work towards that to make it a reality. and a proper inclusion of people.
Thank you, Nina. Really, I mean, that changes my perspective a little also. Thanks to your inputs. And I think we've lost Raima. That's okay. We'll continue with our next question that I have on my mind. And again, it's a common question. When the children were, like when Anushka was born, it took me a couple of months to accept her. Not her, accept the fact that she was born with, special needs. But once the acceptance came to me, I think my road to her success became much easier.
Absolutely.
As parents, it's very easy for us to accept. But do you think this acceptance is in the society as well? Has there been any change in the mindset of the people in the society? Fionika, if you'd like to say.
Sorry.
So, Neha, definitely, earlier, people with people with special needs were looked with or were approached with a lot of sympathy. They were always often neglected. It was considered to be a curse. Families were blamed, parents, especially the mother, for having a child with special needs. And, they were always, what is the need? What are the needs of these differently abled were never understood by society. So they have always approached earlier the differently abled with a lot of fear and, of course, pity. They have always been on the periphery of society. So the child has not, been able to cope up with the regular school curriculum. They are rejected. They stay at home. But now I feel that there is a gradual shift. There is a gradual trend towards acceptance. And this is because now we are moving from things like charity to rights, from sympathy to equality. The terminologies that were also used earlier for the differently abled were mentally retarded, disabled, but now we call them differently abled, right? You spoke about parents, and you being a parent, you also felt that, okay, the acceptance has to come in. It happens to everybody. Every parent is always questions themselves, why me? Why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? What was it? Then you blame it on karma, or blame it on any other thing. But now I feel, after being in the field for 25 odd years, the parents are also very powerful now. They know what their child's rights are. They are now not talking about guilt and feeling shameful, but they want to share their experiences with other parents. They take a lot of pride, in the achievement of their special child. And I can share you a personal experience also. I have a sibling with special needs, and we've gone through the whole journey of creating awareness amongst our family members and friends and society and all the rest of it. When he reached a certain age where he got his first paycheck, that was an overwhelming experience for my parents. And they took this news across the globe. They wanted to inform every friend and family that their son is a contributing and earning member of the as well as of society. Now, this is definitely something which was not happening in the earlier years, which happens now, right? Even as special educators, I will share my experience. I studied special a number of years ago. Earlier, special educators were always questioned. Why are you studying special education? What do you want to do with these kind of students? It was also considered that a person is studying special education. Why? Because they are not being able to cope up with the very programs, and when they're not getting admissions and other things, they're opting for special education. What is it now? We have bachelor's, master level programs. We have people doing doctorates in special education, and people who are doing special education are now looked upon with a lot of sadness. So, shift. There is a shift in a
I think there is some disturbance in Fionika's mic. Okay, so the same question I'd like to put forth to
Okay.
Nina. For you also being a parent, how did you accept it? And do you think the society also has accepted Varun and you, a parent of a special needs child?
Yeah, I think because Varun is 21 now, so if I go 21 years back, it was tough that time. In the sense, but God, I think, had given strength to me that time because my when he was born, he was okay, but after 9 months, I think he got a after 1 year actually he got a convulsion, and after that things started changing. And he's very cute. He was like a very chubby child, and everybody, because I was in advertising, so everybody used to tell me that, oh, why don't you put him in ad and all. So I had no clue what is autism, what is special need. I mean, rarest of the dream that you think that that to 21 years back. So and I was in Mumbai, first in Delhi actually. So that time actually when we went to the doctors and they said, okay, why don't we do this, though I should say that I was fortunate, like my family, in-laws, and they were so nothing is happening as somebody says that, okay, this is a problem, this guy will say do this, everything will be okay, boys speak late. And he had no eye contact. After that he didn't speak, he had no actually he was like a vegetable. So after that, like to make it short, that we showed him to a psychologist, and then they did a test and all, and finally we came to know that it is autism. So what is autism? My husband was not taking it earlier because it was not diagnosed per se. When the day it was diagnosed, then it was like, okay, yes, now we have a challenge. Those time we didn't have Google, we didn't have internet, we didn't have these apps which we have now, which the things have changed a lot. So it was to read, to find out, to speak to people. But yes, I think God had given me that, as I say always, thanks to God, that I started speaking to people that this is the problem, what do we do? So so somebody said, do this, let me do. So when he was very small, that time only I started with somebody said horse riding, swimming, because he was so hyper. He used to throw things. I think for 3 years we didn't go for going together in a restaurant, my husband and me. So when we used to eat, we didn't even share the same table, because if I'm eating, he used to be running after Varun, and if he was eating, I was running after Varun, because he never used to sit. Now, the same thing when we started working with him, the school refused to take him in a play school. And they said, no, this guy, we can't take a risk. He might put crayons in his nose and ears, and he did it twice. But finally, it's like that from the beginning. When he was 2 years old only, then he, when he used to call his name and all, he never used to listen. His name, actually, pet name is Simba, which is Lion King's son, that movie Lion King. So we used to say, Simba, he never used to look. So then that time, when I used to switch on music, because he loves classical, Indian classical. So we used to switch on Jagjit Singh or Ghulam Ali. He used to just wake up. And then he said, no, he listens. There's no problem. So we did Bera test and all. Finally, I knew that he likes music. That's the thing that I knew. So to this school, I said, let's look at the music. So I sent a Casio with him to the school and some visual books, because I thought that that's what he likes. So he started sitting in the school, in the library. And that's how the journey started, that, okay, let's start working on him. So then therapies, and, I think I have never made him sleep during the day. And I had my relatives telling me that this lady is stone-hearted. Look at her. She's not even letting her son sleep during the day. And I was like, bad person as a mother. And but I didn't stop. I said, no, we have to just work on him. And today, now it is like that Varun sings, and we never thought he'll speak, because his speech was not there. His speech came when he was 12, but he used to sing. Like, the speech was not clear, but he used to sing. So I knew that he likes music. I think we have pushed him now, and it's something that he sings in. He has sung all across UAE. He has sung in Dubai Opera. He sings. He has 4 music albums. He has show reels for music, film acting. So I guess I'm blessed. And I feel that we should go on. We should not look at what people will say. People have taken out his clothes and thrown out also and tell me that he's mad. Your mother has not taught anything. But I guess we have to fight it out. Things are different now. We are blessed. And I say to every parent now that you are blessed, that you have apps, you have, if somebody says my child has dyslexia or dysgraphia or this, I'm happy actually. They must be thinking I'm mad. But I know here you have chances of a brilliant child coming up. And I guess if you look at that way, the things have changed. The scenario has changed. And we have lots of things, lots of support, whether it is digital, whether it is internet, whether it is society. We can do a lot with our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Really, and we know Varun personally, and we know what a handsome, good-looking, and a very, very, he's a very talented child. Child no more. He's 21, so child no more.
Yeah,
but he's
an adult now. He's an adult.
Yes, he's an adult. Okay, so Rahima, I think we missed you on both the questions. So I'll put both the questions. No, I'll put both the questions to you, and you give me your whatever you have to say. The first is our topic for today was inclusion. So do you think it's a myth or a reality? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just for the audience members out there as well, when you actually look up the word inclusion and what it means, it's very interesting because it talks about the action or state of including or being included within a group or structure. And it looks at the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might often be marginalized, such as those with disabilities or minority groups, and those members of society who are often excluded. It doesn't have to just be those with disabilities. And then when you look at that and you look at that word and you highlight that word of equal access, then you really can break that down and think, well, what does equal access in society actually mean? And I think just by listening to the other ladies here as well, you think it's fantastic that now we are coming more into a society that is providing somewhat equal opportunities, but not enough. I'm still on that I sit on the bench and I look at, I know I'm not a parent with a child with special needs, but I work with a lot of parents who tell me there's still not equal opportunities for their child to be in the school play or in the school basketball team, or they can get a job. So that idea of inclusion, yes, we need to follow it, but as a society, as a global community, we still need to do more, and there still needs to be more communities. Now you find companies that have a diversity and inclusion policy. So they then make sure that they have a certain amount of employees who are from a certain background, or they have equal opportunity between women and men. So I still feel that there is a lot of work to be done. This myth is not a myth anymore. It is becoming, real, and it's very real. You see in a tolerant country such as Dubai, that, even our Sheikh himself a couple of years ago introduced this phrase, people of determination, for those with disabilities, because he was so certain that these people need a place in society. But when I speak still to families, they still are struggling and they still are finding it hard to find this place, and hence why you have organizations and centers such as Nina's and Fionica, who, and yourself as a champion of someone who is always providing equal opportunities for Anushka, that you still need to find and create that space. So I still feel that there is a lot of work to be done, but it has changed from 20, 30, 40 years ago, where parents, when they were told they might have a child with special needs, were clueless. And now there is more kind of resources out there, but I still feel we're not an inclusive society. We're getting there, but it will, I'd love to see it in my lifetime.
It will.
Thank you, Rahima. Actually, it's a very important point that she has said. And it is not extremes, actually. We are coming midway. So that is, we are bridging the gap. So I think we are happy that we are bridging the gap and we are getting there. So probably we are the change makers. Probably so. Our generation will be the change maker. Okay, thank you so much, Rahima, for that. And Fionica, now I have a question specifically for you. You are heading SPJ Sadhana, which is a very prestigious organization, institution in Mumbai. So there must have been many challenges and even achievements. So, from the perspective of parents, faculty, and the support staff, so what were the challenges, and how have they supported you also? How has your team, been there for you?
When Rahima spoke right now, I somehow resonate with what she says. Because even though SPJ Sadhana has been in the field of special education for 45 years, we are pioneers in students on chips, what is, but it's so hunky-dory. It's not so glamorous. It's not so simple and neat sounds. It's a Herculean task. It's really a Herculean task because we are ahead of inclusion, but we are not still there. Running pillar to post, people, convincing them, creating awareness, making them feel that, and sense. But can you hear me?
No, I think your voice is very distorted. Maybe there's another phone or something, yeah, which is there close to you. So when you have two, gadgets, sometimes.
Now, Nisha?
Yeah, better, much better.
Okay. So, it's not very easy for us either. Yes, we do have of achievement. Had most of the students from every batch that graduates from our school is, integrated, included in the other employment. But it's not very easy. It's very, very difficult. So, of course, the great celebration in Sadhana, learning is a need. All our faculty members are, very, they put a lot to see that every student is, integrated into society, have a job on hand. But it's, it's a different story completely. But yes, earlier on, it was much more difficult. Now it is slightly easier because there is some kind of awareness. There are companies which have, certain quota of people where they are accepting students with disabilities or students with different abilities, and they are ready to explore. They're ready to try them out, to give them a chance. Of course, the hand holding from us is tremendous. A lot of them don't know how to deal with differently abled people. They also come with this stigma that, people with cognitive delays definitely have behavior issues. So they are a little skeptical of employing them. And they feel that they may not be able to handle those meltdowns sometimes. Or how would we communicate with them? They have different ways of communication. So all these are something that we need to sensitize our society to have our students get into inclusion and be included in the mainstream. Well, as far as parents are concerned, they definitely come to us with their bundle of joy or maybe whatever, and they think that a miracle is going to happen. They come into a school or come into an institution which is very well known, and they feel that a big transformation will happen over the years. They definitely feel that their child will leave the school with some amount of skills that they will hone on to, and they will be able to be aged very meaningfully. We definitely love having the parents having so much trust and faith in us, but it's only the partnership between a parent and a school organization that can take our differently abled people to the next level, that is being mainstream. So our parents are our partners in cannot do it alone. Not possible. And he has to definitely be sensitized to understand the duties of these difficult. And that's a look for parents as well as educators. We have a long way to go, already started climbing the ladder, and we will definitely move ahead.
Thank you, Fionica. Really golden words, I must say. And I must share here with everyone that, every year we go back to Mumbai in March. we ensure whether they have time or not, they better meet Anushka, because they, Pyonika has been the one, and plus the other staff members, who have made Anushka what she is. So for us, and she remembers each and every person. So I think what they have given us, she actually she has the entire team has transformed Anushka. So we went with a lot of hope in 2008, I think 2008, and when we left in 2014, she was a changed person. So Pyonika, if we are having that faith in you, you are also fulfilling it.
Actually, so
thank you so much.
Thank
But it's parents like you who believe in the curriculum, believe in us, that can make a transformation. That
Absolutely.
is, say it's two-way. It's definitely a two-way street.
And I also recall one incident. I used to pack Anushka's tiffin, and I once or twice I gave her bread rolls, and she was a very roly-poly baby. Nina, you have seen her. Rahima, you have seen her. And Pyonika called me and said she herself is a bread roll. Please do not send bread rolls to school. And post that, I till date, I have never packed any fried items. So I think you change us also, Pyonika.
No, the school believes in a holistic training. So it's not just vocational training. We got to train them holistically, which includes everything, and that's what makes them capable of being included into society. So a holistic training is the key to inclusion.
Yeah.
But for me, these things have left a mark, For me also, it has changed me as a person. So I'm just saying, we also as parents have to learn. It's not like it's how she's saying, it's both of us have to contribute. So only then it works. So Nina, I have a question for you. We talked about Varun, you shared his journey. Is there any incident that you remember or recall, which, just had you flying, that he's done something really great. He's done a lot of great things, but we would like to hear it from you. Anything which has, beyond your expectations?
Okay, I would share that. There's so many. I think every time there's something change which happens, it brings $1 million smile on us. So because you're not expecting, and the thing happens. And I guess when he was young, and people had told us he will not sing or he will not talk, and the speech. Whether will come or not, and I agree, it will not be 100%. I know that. I think all parents have to agree to that, because the more expectation we have, we get disheartened also. But yes, we at the same time, what I feel is that we should not stop anywhere. We should try our best, and we should give them opportunity. So we were in Indonesia actually, so he was about 8 years old. And as an enthusiastic mother, and I was in the parent association welfare. I was that time, I think some member only, but I was heading towards vice president or whatever, because I've been doing lots of voluntary work there also. So I said, Varun will sing. So his speech was not so clear, but all the teachers said, he was in Australian international school, so it was called AIS Idol. So they had a different alternative learning center, which I feel is an ideal school, where you have a separate learning center, and then you have inclusion also. So he used to be only included in music class, because in music he was 100% there. That was his strength, and maybe in physical fitness and cycling, etc. So that inclusion was happening there, but rest of the thing, it was 1-to-1. So finally I said, no, he's going to sing. And as a mother, I taught him something, because there was a jury, and first time a special need child was supposed to sing. They said, no, he's so hyper, he will never actually stand on the stage also. So I said, why don't you try and let's see and all. I taught him some song, and as soon as he was there to actually sing, he didn't sing that song at all. So I was waiting with the camera and all, okay, now here Varun is going to sing. He never sang that song. So they said, what is this? I said, I mean, because you can't predict, like what I had thought, he will never do that. But it did. And finally, the teacher said, why don't you sing this song, The Whole New World of Aladdin? And he sang. So they said, okay, let him sing this only. The next day was the AI's Idol, and there was a whole huge assembly of the school over there. And he was the first time in the history, a special need child was singing on the stage. So as soon as the lights came on his face, he got scared because we had practiced him singing, but not that light will come on his face because it was evening time. And finally, when the lights came on his face, he ran away from the stage. So the whole hall was waiting, will he sing or not? But the best part was not a single, person made any expression, or even kids were quiet. They didn't see it. It was a pin drop silence. And the teacher behind stopped him behind the curtain, and he said, "Sing, you sing, Varun." And Varun sang behind the curtain. And that was the first time he sang, and he sang so well. That was the first time he sang on the stage, and it made the whole hall cry. Obviously, me as a mother was such a this thing that yes, he sang, though it was behind the curtain. And from there on, the school started taking him, and I didn't have to push, because always you have to push, like no, you take my child, and he had been singing -1 the third year. So the second year was a little scary, third year, and slowly now you see that he performs on stage. And also, I guess we have to give that opportunity to the child, and that makes you feel much better that yes, we should try, nothing is impossible, we should try. So it's not that scared, and the teachers told me that no, he is hyper, he'll not stay, but he stayed and he's been going on. So I guess then the training of Hindustani classical music, he's in the 5th year of Hindustani classical from Prayag University, Allahabad, he's doing. And he's getting distinction all across. And there's a 3 hours exam, which is theory, which they have allowed me to write. So I write for him. But he also sits for 3 hours and writes, because it's like he does not write properly, because his writing is also, he has motor skills issues, but I write for him. He writes and sits through 3 hours. This year we had 5th year of exam online, and I never thought he's going to sit. He sat through the whole 3 hours, and he was sitting, and he was neat in writing this time. So I could see the change in him, and you feel that yes, it's not whatever you are working hard for, it's not going waste. So at the same time, when he sings Western classical, I thought he's singing well. Why not do ABRSM? He's not good at academics. So what? Let's do music. And he's in grade 3 of ABRSM vocals now. So the same thing with the film acting. So I guess every time you try something with him, and I think it is with all kids also in Tender Hearts. That's where I see we have kids who are amazing. One is an animator. She's a Chinese girl. She's an animator. And giving a chance to them for the inclusion. But I will want to mention this here, that inclusion makes a huge difference, because if we don't take them out, we don't give them an opportunity to go to different places, they'll be that scary cats, So now anybody comes to our center, none of a child is scared. They are there with full full confidence, because they're used to people. We have inclusion in different schools that we have tied up. I guess that has helped, and Varun has been a part of it. And he has last year they taught Varun and one more Chinese girl, this I'm talking about, they taught dance to ambassador school kids of grade 8, 9. And they taught the dance, and they performed on the stage in their annual function of the school on the stage. So I guess that was the proudest moment. So, and it goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Lovely. I mean, hearing this, I can recall, I'm having deja vu. So many things we've seen with Anushka, and Pyonika has seen it all and been there with her. So we've seen those moments, and the growth in the child is like wonderful. Last 10, 12 years have been wonderful. Now, Rahima, we've seen how passionate you are. You do not have a sibling, touch with God's grace. You do not have a sibling. You do not have anybody, any association with people of determination. But, what was this? Was this passion that drove you, to get them together for Rising Stars? And second question, do you also face any resistance? So your passion and the resistance.
So actually, this brings me back to when I was in my teens, not so long ago. So basically, I was standing in line to do a prayer ceremony that's in our community, in our mosque. So I'm standing in line, and there's a young girl in front of me. Her name is Zafira, and I can see she's very agitated. She was only a couple of years younger than me. I was about 16, 17 at the time. I'm sure she was about 14. And she's very agitated. I can see her being restless. She's saying to her mum, who she calls Mamani, she's like, Mamani, I want to go. I want chai. So I'm watching this happen. And I said to her mum, oh, can I help you? Do you need anything? Because I can see her mum was struggling. And she goes, no, Beta, it's fine. I'm okay. Next minute, Zafira turns around and pulls my hair, and she yanks it quite hard. And she gets very agitated, and she tries to run off, and her mum grabs her. And then her mom's like, are you okay? And this other lady said, am I okay? And I was fine. I mean, I was okay. I was more concerned about Zafira. Was she okay? Because you can see she was very upset. She was very agitated. She wanted to go in the line. So I just took her hand and I said to her mom, no, let's go. Let me help her. She needed another person. Her mom said to me, who's now Yasmin auntie, she's like my second mother. She was like, thank you, Beta. That was really nice of you. I always get very embarrassed to ask for help. And I was like, please don't. Like, I'm she's like my sister. We took her downstairs. We got her chai. We calmed her down. And then every time she used to come to our Jamaat Khana, I would always want to sit with her, because I would notice there would be other people looking at her, because sometimes she stims a lot. She calls out words and she can start crying, or she'll just get up in the middle of a ceremony when everyone sat down and be like, I want to go. So I started helping her, and her mom always said to me, oh, there needs to be more youngsters like you in the community that can help Zafira and other people. And then I started noticing in our Jamaat Khana, there were other people and other young children who would sometimes be sitting at the back and not coming to the front. So I'd go and just help them. And then I started a little group with my friends, and we'd do some voluntary work. That happened maybe now 15, 20 years ago. So I soon started really falling in love with the children that were in the community. And that's when Zafira's mum said, you should go and become a teacher. And I was like, no, I don't know if I want to do this. But my mum's a teacher. So I started going to schools. I'd always find special needs very difficult. I did. But then I only loved that. I didn't like working in mainstream. So, and I'd always find these children really special, like really amazing. They'd always have talents. They'd always have an interest, be that obsessed with history, the weather, anything, dance, like Anushka or Varun, like singing. It'd be fantastic. So I'd always have a lot of fun. So then I then became a special needs teacher, and then moving to Dubai, I then worked in mainstream as well as special needs, but I always wanted to integrate both, because I don't like them being labeled. I don't like them saying, oh, that person with this. I want one day for there to be a society where we don't have labels. Hence why with what I do, I like to for them to look at their talents. I know we need labels to kind of look at diagnoses, but I don't want that to be, oh, it's that child who's got that issue or this, because why does it have to be an issue? They have Down syndrome, they have autism. Okay, we all have something. I think we all have special needs, and as human beings, we all have something. So I think that was where the resistance came in, because I always would speak to parents, be like, no, let's look at what they can do. And a lot of the parents I still felt in my community would still worry about what others would think. And I would then say, no, let's give them an opportunity. So we have the shoes area where we take people's shoes back in the day, pre-COVID, and we'd give them a tag. So I used to work with one boy with Down syndrome who would never get an opportunity. His name was Amal. Because, he did have a few cognitive delays. And I would say to the captain, why don't you give him an opportunity? One of us can help him. So what I would find is that when there was any kind of, and it still happens today, even within the community, we still have resistance with giving them opportunities to even do voluntary jobs. And I think that's where Rising Stars and my work came in, where I wanted people to change their mindset. So that's yeah.
Thank you, Rahima. And we've seen how comfortable you are with, irrespective of whether it's a boy, girl, age. I don't think anything matters to you. We're seeing your passion, and it's really wonderful to have youngsters like you, who are willing to, help people with special needs. So it's wonderful. And we'll have one question each last before we wind up, if that is fine. I mean, we could go on non-stop, but maybe we'll have it in future again. So, Fionika, there's one question for you. See, heading the institution for last 26, being a part of the institution for last 26 years, is there any particular vision that you have for SPJ Sadhana to take it to, even greater heights? Anything specific in your mind?
Well, the one thing that I want that society in general should practice Ubuntu. I think a lot of us know what Ubuntu is all about. It's I am because you are. And I feel that if our special needs people or the differently abled are accepted, they are included, they are welcomed, then, life will be so different from there for them. So I am looking forward for a transformation which will, make their abilities shine in society. And I, who is the special needs person or the differently abled, is because of the society, and vice versa. So in SPJ Sadhana, we definitely live up to this Ubuntu, that is, we are because they are. So I want to see Sadhana going to that level, and not only helping students from our school, but a lot of other special needs in different ways, to either having sheltered workshops, having them included in mainstream jobs. These are the dreams that each and every educator in my institution is working towards. And we definitely want to practice Ubuntu.
Very nice. Very nice. Very, very nice. And Nina, for you, how do you plan to fulfill your dream to create more awareness so that the inclusion of special ones is eliminated as a social stigma? We spoke about social stigma earlier. So is there anything that you would want to do because you are also owning an institution?
Yeah, actually, as Rahima said, and when we look at the challenges that we still face, which are enormous actually, but yes, things when they go easier is basically because we will not stop working. We have to work, and we have to get that awareness in terms of the other people in the whole society when we talk about the world. Because if we as an institute, whether it is Rising Star, whether it is Fionika or any other schools or centers, we prepare our child and the child is ready to enter the world. But is the world ready? That is what is required also. Because so for that, what we are doing as Tender Hearts, though we are I say we are a small fish in the whole pond, but we are trying is that past these 5 years, we have trained all the kids of grade 10, 11, 12 and universities, or regular kids as we say, to teach them what is volunteering. But volunteering is not that. What we used to see with the kids is that because as a community service, they require a certificate to go into universities. So people come that time, just to fill in those hours and say that, okay, I want this, I want a certificate, I want to do that, I am volunteering here. But when we check with these kids, and that's what we have made a policy in Tender Hearts, is that you're not volunteering because you want a certificate. You're volunteering because you have to change. Because what happens that when they come, they feel special needs, because lots of people don't know what is autism. Lots of people don't know. Maybe Down syndrome, because of the eyes, they look at the face, they might find out there's something different. But otherwise, when you look at other, disabilities, you are not totally sure what is what. They don't have any clue. So it's not only for the certificate that you come here. You have to understand them. You have to value them. You have to respect them. then only the things will start changing. So we have been able to see, and we have been able to see those changes in these kids who come from different schools and colleges and universities, that that when they work with the kids, we ask them to make a presentation. They are not the regular kids which they say they are not able to even walk on the ramp. They are so shy. And our kids, when they see that they can do this also, that also, there's a good singer, there's a person on the keyboard, we have theater, that we have kids who are doing theater, they are doing film acting, we have kids who can be a good orator. So when they look at them and say, wow, this is not what special need is, that I had it in mind. So they start respecting, and they say they are much better than us, because non-stop they'll be doing different activities. And when you look at a regular child, you say, oh mama, I'm tired now, I am not going to do it today, I did this. But when you look at these kids or adults or young adults, they, if given an opportunity, they'll go on. So we've seen the things changing, but yes, it is a huge challenge. It is not very easy, but yes, we have in this online thing, that for the COVID past 11 months, we have taken online also volunteers, and we have taught them what is volunteering, and they being and learning with these kids. Not that you are a coach here or a volunteer, you also have to learn. So when they start and they are there, that is what inclusion is. So whenever we do anything, we have those kids taught, oriented, and then they actually enter that. And recreation, when I say, is it becomes easier because it can be dance, which is easier to follow. It can, when it is yoga, or when it is, some of the kids are leaders. That's what when Raima says that, we have to empower them. So we empower our kids or our students, that they are leaders. They are teaching yoga, they are teaching dance. Whoever is good in what, the special needs, they are the ones who are teaching the volunteers. So then they're like, their eyes are popped up. Wow, we didn't have a teacher, or we are not the one that were teaching. It's these kids, special needs, who's teaching, because they're special in their own way. Similarly, we are doing it with the corporates, that the kids who are ready to do internship and all, we send them there, work on their weaknesses and strength, and then work them and bring them back, work on their weaknesses and send them back again. But yes, what we have seen, that we have to train the departments, we have to train the people who are working as employees in those companies, need to be trained. So once they come, you're not here to just cry and show that you're very sympathetic. You have to see that what is your role there. How can you open your arms and take them and help them to actually learn, and not to make a difference there. Oh, this is special need or determined ones, or everyone is determined. We are determined to do something. We all should have it. So I guess there's a change to be for us to actually do it together in the corporate schools, colleges. Yes, I know it is difficult. We have a huge, population there, but yes, a little bit wherever we can, and we can ask and spread that awareness that yes, everyone has to do that. And there will be respect, there will be no difference. As soon as we say that, okay, this Varun is singing, what happens, that I just wanted to share, I know the time is less, that and here we have a special need or a determined one singing this song, everywhere it happens. And now Varun asks me, and he says, am I determined one? And he's Googling determined ones and autistic kids on the Google. And then he asks me that he has a younger brother, and he's saying, if I am determined, what is he? Now, how do you answer that? Am I a special need? Why am I special need? How do you answer that? So when we talk, we have to delete that word. That is where inclusion will come. Inclusion will not come by saying that we have included special needs inside our school or college or corporates or mall or where. Inclusion will happen when we take them normal, regular, and value them for what they are.
Thank you so much, Neena. I know we're running out of time. There are so many questions which are popping up, but maybe we'll keep it for the next session. And I would just like to, Fionika, just one thing. I want you to just put in some word for Parvaz, just last few words, maybe quick, one sentence.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I can sum it up in one sentence, but I wanted to say that whatever we practice always grows stronger. So what Parvaz has started, this initiative, the social initiative, if you keep on practicing it, I know it's going to take you way, way beyond. And we are all there to help and support in whatever way that is required. Yeah, so because our topic was on inclusion, let's practice inclusion so that it gets stronger. There's so much in the universe. There's abundance in the universe for each one of us. And it's our journey to find things that are, available for our differently able. And let's see that not even one of them is left unemployed. Nisha, I'm not very good at writing poems like you, but I liked one little line which I would like to end with.
Please do.
Probably that is something that Parvaz would, take it very well. One is that manzil mil hi jayegi, एक दिन इसी हौसले से चलने का इरादा किया है, किसी और से नहीं, खुद से ये वादा किया है.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Very nice.
Frankly, I don't want to say anything after this because this one line has summed up our entire session. Thank you so much, Rahima. Thank you so much, Pyonika. Thank you so much, Nina.
Thank you, Parvaz. Thank you, Nisha. Thanks, everyone. I guess
I'm going to request Manoj to call you once again. So this has not ended here. Thank you so
always
much.
There. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was a wonderful
Bye.
opportunity.
Thank you, Rahima.